Welcome to this short introduction to sociological theories. This particular session would be useful to you if you have some of these questions in mind. What is sociological theory? What about the thoughts on society prior to the emergence of sociology? What are the central concerns of a theorist? In this case, in the discipline of sociology. Why theory looks difficult to comprehend and how to study theories. This short video would be trying to answer some of these questions. And we begin with a very short description about what is theory. Webster's dictionary defines a theory as a plausible or scientifically acceptable general principle offered to explain a phenomena. Oxford Dictionary defines it as a scheme or a system of ideas or statements held as an explanation or account of a group of facts or phenomena. And theories are considered to be the core underlying strength of a discipline. And this both the definitions says that theory is a generalized explanation of a phenomena. So the question comes: is theory something always connected only with a particular discipline or disciplines? Or who are the people who uses theory? So one thing we have to notice is that there is a theory behind all our actions and all our thoughts. If you are interested in gardening, you know how we have to take care of a plant. When you have to do the pruning, when you have to do the watering and fertilizing. So there is a theory behind, what all factors are determining a proper plant growth, and accordingly we plan our actions. So although there is a theory implicit in all our actions, to understand what lies implicit as explicit takes a kind of a practice. And an introductory session on sociological theory is an attempt to have a deeper clarity about you know what is theory and how we can relate with theory in our day-to-day analysis. So when we talk about sociological theory, it is a kind of a systematized social thought confined to the boundaries of the discipline sociology, or a kind of a systematized social thought that explains human relations. And we know that sociology is one of the youngest of the social sciences. So, is it that sociological theories or sociological theories that concerns about society was something altogether new? What about the thinking or reflections about society prior to the emergence of this discipline, sociology? For that, let us begin with our understanding of social thought. So there were philosophers and many amateurs who were having, you know, they're thinking about what is happening around them. And theory is actually helping us to know the what and why of happenings around us, or why and how of a social phenomenon. It answers the question. So, how the earlier people had their own ways of looking at society or reality. So, social thought could be understood as an attempt to understand social reality which is bounded within the context of a society. Or it is a kind of a reflection about, certain peculiar circumstances in society, and mostly directed towards certain social problems. But compared to the kind of sociological theories we have, the social thought was unorganized, unscientific, unsystematic, and mostly problem oriented. The earliest social thought could be found in the form of myths, know, or legends, folklores, fables, or other types of stories. And when it comes to sociological thought, you for to understand, uh, sociological thought, we need to understand that sociology itself as a discipline is a product of modernity. There are certain very specific social and intellectual background that determines the emergence of this new discipline. So when we use the term, modernity or modern, in normal usage, we have multiple ways of understanding it. One common usage of modern is to indicate contemporary or up to date. And this term also can be used as an adjective in the case of modern art or modern architecture. But here, when we talk about sociology as a product of modernity, we consider modernity as a historical period that began in the 17th century, which is marked by a series of significant social changes, starting from an increasing rate of migration from the rural areas to the urban areas, a high division of labor, um, commodification and use of rational markets, bureaucracy, or in another way, modern society uh, is in the context of our discipline is defined with a direct reference to nation state. And modernity is more than a period of time. It's a way of knowing which is rooted in enlightenment and positivism. So prior to enlightenment, the dominant worldview had its basis in tradition and religion. And the idea of progress was, not very significant. There are many ways of knowing reality. The meteorological department may predict that it is going to rain for the coming 1 or 2 days, and there are people who can predict the same thing by looking at the color of the body, of a rain fly, or for some, the glare of a sun in the mountains would be an indication of an upcoming rain. Or for some other people, so if certain types of birds fly too near to the land, it is an indication of an upcoming rain. So we have different, you know ways of understanding reality, or even providing explanations to reality. There are different epistemes, but at a particular juncture in history, how science and scientific method became important for the production of knowledge. There was a time when we started believing that knowledge is something which is derived or produced from our senses of experience, our sensory experiences. So there are, there are certain, historical dimensions that help us to know how science became the base for knowledge creation. So in the post 17th century, the idea central to the Enlightenment, progress, empiricism, freedom, and tolerance, becomes prevalent. At the same time, scientific revolution and industrial revolution was resulting in rapid changes in society. So there were people, including Saint Simon and Auguste Comte, who were struggling to make sense of this rapid change. And we know that our discipline, sociology, is an outcome of such a thinking. So now let's again try to understand theory in the context of sociology. Sociological theories could be understood as a set of abstract, logical, and meaningful propositions that aim at explaining or interpreting a social phenomena or a social process. Or theory can also be understood as something that provide a basic understanding of how to see the larger social picture in our own personal life. It is like an adjusting binocular, that help to see things clearly. It helps us to magnify, enlarge, clarify, or expand to our views, the way we think, or the way we look at society. So theories help to explain the social world in which we live, move, and we relate ourselves. It gives us eyes to see and understand what is happening in the world. And all theories are written from specific perspectives. Think about structural functionalism, conflict perspective, symbolic interactionism, or feminist perspective. And different theories come out of different ways of seeing the world. So we have Newman defining theory as a logical argument or a story that tells why something takes a specific form or why something occurs in a particular manner by referring to the more general ideas or abstract principles. Or, you know, theory help us to discover the meaning of an event or a practice by placing it within a specific social context. And we can define, theory, or we can understand theory in multiple ways. One way to understand theory is that the theory is a systematic relationship between facts. What do you mean by a fact? Any empirically verifiable observation is called fact. Sun rises in the east. And it is different from an opinion because opinion is a view or a judgment formed about something and need not necessarily be based on fact or knowledge. It is different from argument. Any opinion supported by facts and principles becomes an argument. So, here a theory could be understood as the structures of ideas which explain and interpret facts. So it transcends the observable realm of empirical reality and help us to provide the larger social picture. Another way of understanding theory is to understand it in relation to the concepts. We'll just begin with our understanding of what is a concept. In the picture, you are seeing two images, but you can relate these two different pictures with a particular idea. If I'm calling these two structures as chairs, these two sitting apparatuses as chairs, I'm using a concept. So, a concept means an idea put into words. Or we arrive at abstractions by converting the proper nouns to common noun. So, a general idea which is derived or inferred from specific instances or occurrences is called a concept. And a conceptual scheme tries to explain the observed regularities. Or conceptual scheme means it is a general system of concepts that shape or organize our thoughts and perception. And then what is theory? Theory constitutes a series of conclusions stated in terms of concepts and their interrelations. Or it is an abstract conceptual scheme to explain the observed regularities. Now, we can conclude that theory is something that transcends the observable realm of empirical reality. It is something that provides us the largest social picture, and it is at a higher level of abstraction. Theory should be helping us to relate the specific phenomena or specific processes to the larger domain. That is why we are making it more abstract. And for many of us, theory becomes difficult, maybe because of the way it is structured. But if we change our perspective and we try to understand a theory, in the way we read a story, theory becomes really interesting. It really gives you a perception to see things in a new light. Just think about the concept which we discussed earlier, the chair. Just think about chair as a social artifact. As a social artifact, a chair is linked with a particular sitting posture found in certain cultures. So now chair is something, a universal object used for sitting. But how did the chair become, such a universal object used for sitting? Yes, the usage of chair was so popular, in all the cultures. Just try, thinking about, our own ancestors. So an explanation, for this need to be linked to the historical development of societies. Is it that the usage of chair has something to do with the social stratification? Is it that the chair came as a cultural civilizational artifact of the Western countries to India? Is the usage of chair has some element of power? Try reflecting on some of these questions. And then we will move to the different definitions given to theory by various scholars. For Kaplan, it is a way of making sense of a disturbing situation. For Merton, it is a set of logically interconnected propositions from which empirical uniformities can be derived. And if I'm taking the definition by Schutz, a theory is the explicit formulation of determinate relations between a set of variables in terms of which a fairly extensive class of empirical ascertainable regularities can be explained. Although the definitions vary, the essence of what is a theory remains the same. Abrams talk about some of the characteristics of theories. Theory is something which is expressed in terms of well defined concepts. It could be understood as a systematized symbolic construction. Theories are provisional and it is verifiable in a preliminary way. And what are the functions of theories? So, from the previous discussions, we've understood that a sociological theory is the aggregate of explanatory frameworks about the homologous linkages among the major instances such as economy, technology, polity, jurisprudence, ethics, religion, and culture. It established correlation at the micro aspects of instances such as power relations, ideology, institutions of control, structures of domination, practices, rites, rituals, subject positions, dynamic of transformation, and the multiple processes thereof. So it also, tries to maintain a proper understanding about the difference between surface appearances and the underlying theoretical truth. So, theory is something that has a power to suggest potential problems and produce new investigative studies. Theory is something that helps us to predict facts. It guides research. It helps us to point towards the gaps in our knowledge. And most importantly, theories systematizes matters and their relationships into convenient conceptual schemes. So, a sociological theory in general asks these two primary questions: how societies are formed, what are the constituent um, uh, you know uh, rules and norms for the society to uh, you know to maintain its position. So, how society is formed, how societies perpetuate through regulatory principles. These are the two questions. And when we think about classical sociological theory, they're primarily concerned with the three dimensions of society. By looking at how societies are formed, they emphasizes on the modes of its maintenance through the contributions of individuals and institutions. They look at the nature of competition and conflict over resources and subsequent changes, and the way human beings pursue their goals by observing rules constituted by the collective existence. And a knowledge of these theories is very much essential for us to understand how the classical sociological thinkers have responded to the changes or the circumstances in their own times. And all the modern theories are rooted or grounded in this foundation. And many a time I feel that we may find it difficult to study theory, although it would be exciting for the other half. There is a way how we need to study theories. Now we have understood that theory is a reflection of the social environment and the time in which it was developed. And we have understood the relevance of the context. It is a society and culture at a particular time and place that provides the base for the emergence of a theory. And theory is, of course, abstract and systematic. So you cannot understand one part of the theory by itself. All the theoretical ideas are ideas within a context of an argument. So you need to be able to grasp the theory altogether. So when you approach classical sociological thinkers, try asking this question: what is the central question by this theorist? And if you can grasp that central question, then you will find a logical connection between all the theories that the theorist is coming up with. And if we can understand the logic, just like a story, you will be familiar with the theories. So I want all of you to have an open mind while while initiating your readings in theory. So I have given the some of the important references which you can begin with if you are new to or you're a beginner in the studies of sociological theory. Thank you.